Hi, I'm Kate.
And I'm Annika, and this is Crash Course Literature, and today we will be talking about Shel Silverstein. Most people know Shel Silverstein as that creepy guy on the back of the book covers of silly children's poetry, but there's more to him than that.
While yes, his poems were generally geared towards children, but he had hoped to touch and humor people of all ages.
His poems generally exude themes of life lessons applicable to both children and adults.
His poems generally use rhyme schemes, rhythm, and alliteration to create a fun flow for his readers. One instance of this is in his book Where the Sidewalk Ends. Ickle me, pickle me, tickle me too. Went for a ride in a flying shoe. The rhymes ickle, pickle, and tickle, along with two and shoe, gives the poem a fun rhyme and rhythm that makes the poem flow.
Additionally, he also uses similes religiously.
Small as a peanut, big as a giant, we're all the same when we turn off the light. Rich as a sultan, poor as a mite, we're all the same when we turn off the light. Silverstein uses similes in this poem to convey the message that although humans may physically differ from each other extremely, at our very cores, anything but that is true. Time for the thought bubble. As a teen, he started writing and drawing because, in his words, he wasn't popular with the ladies or was not good at sports. He was born in the Great Depression, so his early years of life were not in the best conditions. He used doodling and writing as a coping mechanism, and he kept with it his entire life. He went to Roosevelt University, where a professor noticed his talents and mentored him until he was eventually drafted into the war.
He was born in Chicago, Illinois on September 25, 1930. He joined the U.S. Army in 1950, serving in both Korea and Japan. There he was a cartoonist for the Stars and Stripes magazine. After his time in the military, he drew cartoons for Look and Sports Illustrated magazines. But it was Playboy magazine that kicked his popularity into gear. His work was featured in every issue of Playboy magazine from 1957 to the mid-1970s. He regularly wrote songs as well, going on to produce more than 24 albums. While he never intended to write for children, his editor in 1963 pushed and encouraged him to do so. This resulted in him publishing many children's books, among them The Giving Tree, his most famous books, named one of the greatest children's books of all time.
And now for the open letter. An open letter to all things childish. As children, most of us cared very little about how others perceived us. We were unapologetically who we were. But somewhere along the lines of growing up, that changed. As we grew up, we were shamed out of doing the things we liked, like watching cartoons and reading silly books. Those types of things started to become things that were associated with being childish and immature. Take C.S. Lewis' quote, for example. When I was 10, I read fairy tales in secret and would have been ashamed if I had been found doing so. Now that I am 50, I read them openly. When I became a man, I put away childishness things such as the fear of childishness and the desire to be very grown up. The desire to hide the fact that you're childish sometimes is in fact childish. So take this to heart. If you like silly poems and cartoons, then enjoy them. It doesn't benefit you at all by hiding the things that you enjoy doing. Now that we're done with that, let's move on to one of Silverstein's most famous poems. There is a place where the sidewalk ends, and before the street begins. And there the grass grows soft and white, and there the sun burns crimson bright. And there the moonbird rests from his flight to cool in the peppermint wind. Let us leave this place where the smoke blows black and the dark street winds and bends. Past the pits where the asphalt flowers grow, we shall walk with a walk that is measured and slow. And watch where the chalk white arrows go to the place where the sidewalk ends. Yes, we'll walk with a walk that is measured and slow, and we'll go where the chalk white arrows go. For the children they mark, and the children they know, the place where the sidewalk goes.
The entirety of this poem suggests there's a magical place children know of where the sidewalk ends. This magical place represents childhood, the innocence it holds, and its fundamentally different point of view when compared to adults.
The imagery and metaphors that he uses help the reader imagine the whimsical and magical aspects of childhood, while condemning the restrictful and boring nature of adulthood.
Where the sidewalk ends is full of delightful imagery. Where the grass grows soft and white, and to cool in peppermint wind. This imagery illuminates the magic that is childhood. In contrast, outside of where the sidewalk ends is filled with depressing imagery, like black smoke and black winds. Even the flowers are dull, representing how even the nicest things in the adult perspective are boring and gray.
Using chalk white arrows, chalk white being associated with children, Shel Silverstein urges adults to follow children's lead so they too can glory in the beauty that is childhood. In other words, where the sidewalk ends.